Murderer.
I don't know. My blood could have been there or what. I know I went to bed. I know.
What's up, y'all? I gotta sell these cards. Terry's streaming. Sorry, Terry. So I want to find out. Hello, Floor. You got your notifications turned on. I want to find out which of these debates came first because I believe this debate just happened yesterday, but it might have happened a long time ago because this website or this YouTube video where I found it, I think they re-release old debates sometimes, so this might actually be an old debate. And I want to see who figured out Matt Dillahunty's trigger question first. Was it Andrew Wilson or was it D'Souza? Views 1 day ago, 8 months ago. Does God exist? What is a woman? Dinesh D'Souza and Matt. So this happened 8 months ago. This debate happened 8 months ago. So Dinesh D'Souza was really the first one to say it, and Matt Dillahunty's opening statement, or Andrew Wilson's opening statement at the Modern Day Debate Con was actually not even. I'm not saying it wasn't an original argument, but Andrew already might have known, because I'm sure Andrew prepared for this. Andrew might have already known that this question triggered Matt Dillahunty. So Andrew used it in his opening statement, and Andrew's a little more abrasive than D'Souza, and not quite at the time he wasn't near as popular as D'Souza. Now they're pretty close to even ground, but at the time, D'Souza was a lot. Well, at the time it was only earlier this year. I don't know, when did the Modern Day Debate Matt Dillahunty, Andrew Wilson. So I'll play this for you.
Don't just use the internet, unleash it. Quantum Fiber Internet sets you free.
Yep, this is it. Okay, check this out. So Dillahunty, this was 6 months ago. The Dillahunty and Dinesh D'Souza debate was 8 months ago. So let's play the D'Souza one first. Let's play them in order. And I'm not going to play the full debates because I only have like an hour to stream. And I will show you what happened here. Grab the wrong frame. There we go. Okay, so this is 8 months ago, but it was re-released yesterday. Here we go. Here's the original one.
I gotcha. But
so they're debating, does God exist? What is a woman? And then Trump. They were supposed to get to Trump. They never really get to Trump. And I'll play it.
future. Let's look at them one by one. Let's take them in reverse order.
Sure.
Can science decide the matter of whether or not there is life after death, yes or no?
It depends.
Depends on what?
So science only deals with the natural world.
Correct.
And so if in fact there's a supernatural existence after this, then it may forever be beyond the purview of science.
Correct. Or if there is another universe that operates according to different laws and we happen to move somehow into that universe, science would have
So this is just a clip, a segment from the debate. The clip that I want to get to is a little farther ahead, but just to show you kind of what they're debating. They're debating God's existence, and then they get into climate change. They get into gender stuff. They get into Trump.
nothing to say about it, correct?
Not necessarily, because okay. if it's a natural, like we have like hypotheses about the multiverse or whatever.
Correct.
I can't say what science will be able to test for in the future, or whether or not we are permanently confined to the cosmos that we experience. I can't say. I can't even rule out, I can't say that science could never say anything about the supernatural. All I can say is that as it stands right now, I'm unaware of any supernatural claim that has any evidence for it that science could evaluate to determine that it was true.
Right. Let's put it a little differently because I don't want to debate the detail here. I just want to look at the macro picture. And what I'm basically saying is Shakespeare said, I think correctly, death is the undiscovered country. No one has been to the other side of the curtain and essentially reported, given us empirical evidence one way or the other, correct? We don't know what happens after death. True?
So here's the thing, and I promise I'm not being difficult. This is just for clarity. As a skeptic, my position is not, like when the psychics who claim that they're speaking with the dead.
Damn it, the phone's gonna die.
My position is not, they're wrong and that's bullshit. My position is they cannot demonstrate that what they're actually doing is what they claim. And so I can't say nobody's been to the other side and communicated back. I can just say there's no reliable evidence for it, and I don't know what shape that evidence would take in order to demonstrate that.
Okay, I want to come back to that because that you've now made to me a very striking claim, namely that we should, I think you're saying, disbelieve.
Damn it.
A lot of folks say they'll stand up to DC and protect our land.
I need to copy my freaking auction notes from this old phone into this new phone, and the phone freaking dies every time I turn it on. Okay, let's skip this God debate stuff. Why this phone charges up a little bit. Let's get to the good part.
But John Curtis is the only one.
All claims for which there is not sufficient evidence.
So,
not just that we should take an agnostic position, but we should disbelieve them. That's two different things.
Oh, so if you mean disbelieve as in believe they are not true, that's the exact opposite of what I just said.
Okay.
What I said was we should believe things when there's evidence for it, and that is both the proposition that the supernatural is real and the proposition that the supernatural is not real.
Okay.
So agnosticism isn't some middle ground between believing X and believing not X. There is no middle ground. You are either convinced of X or you are not convinced of X. And I'm not convinced that the supernatural is real. That doesn't mean that I'm convinced that the supernatural isn't real. It's kind of like if you go into a courtroom,
okay.
I may have to say not guilty, even if I'm not convinced of innocence, because the burden of proof is on the claim of guilt. And so,
all right, so I'm going to skip ahead. And look, this is the most viewed segment. I made a clip from it this morning. It got like 5,000 views, and this is like an old debate. So we're going to go about 46 minutes in.
Once you have the foundations of thought, there's not much left to explore there. Once you have identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle, once you have the foundations of a syllogism, once you have the foundations of set theory and Venn diagram, and you've got your epistemology, now that's when science can say, now we can tell when we're justified in accepting something and when we're not, and to what extent. And so science then does this inferential testing to build a model that is our best example of the universe, and it is tentative and subject to revision. That's what science doesn't make proclamations about truth.
Yeah, but I think
But scientists do. So if there's a climate scientist out there that says, the truth is this, That's not science. That's preaching on behalf of science. What they should be saying is the data show this, here's the model, this is the extrapolation of this model, this is our best understanding and best estimate for what's going to happen in the future. So that they're making decisions like I am about my future based on actual data and not and what we, and not just what we hope happens.
Well, I think it was Wittgenstein who said that even if all possible scientific questions could be solved,
Why am I still sleepy?
the most important human questions would still be on the table.
How did we get here?
Now,
where are we going after we die?
I think you're awarding a sort of prize to science based upon a stacked deck. You're defining scientific truth as somehow superior, and you're declaring that on that basis, arguing inside the bubble of science, science comes out first prize. And according to you, philosophy, because it's dealing with enduring human, you may say, eternal questions like what is good, what is right, how do you tell right from wrong, not to mention questions like how do we know what we know.
That's the one I went with.
Or to pursue, here's Immanuel Kant. You asked who went past Hume. I would say Kant did. You ask questions like, when I look at something in space,
okay,
is the space in the world, or is...
Earlier they were making some really good points about how, like, does Australia exist? I've never been to Australia. I don't know any Australians. I haven't seen Australia with my own eyes. Can we safely know that Australia exists? And really, I can't. But I can know through evidentiary proofs. Or evidentiary, basically, if you have enough reliable sources that you believe, then you can believe it to be true. Which is the same with God. That's not the only proof for God, but that's a proof for God. There is historicity. We have a lot of sources. We have a lot of cultures worldwide that wrote about God and talked about these ideas. So how can we know him to be true? It's evidentiary. But Matt would say that's not evidence. That's just fairy tales.
the space a mode of my perception?
But wait till you see how he picks and chooses where he gets his scientific evidence from. He picks and chooses who his valid sources are. Right here.
Is time something out there in the world? Just think about it. Time is this thing, this object with no weight.
No, it's an object.
It's a concept.
Well,
time is an abstraction.
Is an abstraction. And abstractions, by and large, live in our mind.
Yes.
So Kant's point is that space and time are dimensions of they are things that the mind brings to experience. They are not something out there in the world. Now, I'm not trying to resolve that issue. Okay, I don't think either of us is going to top Kant on this one in the next 30 seconds. All I'm trying to say is that to argue that this kind of a question is somehow either settled or unimportant because there is no way of sort of addressing it in a scientific sense, I think reflects a certain narrowness of perspective about the wide range of human knowledge, the wide range of disciplines, from history to psychology.
If I had said anything remotely like that, but I didn't.
Well, you gave a little kind of science comes first, and that's what I was responding to.
Science is the most consistently reliable method of accurately understanding the universe. The cosmos, the natural world.
The natural world, perfect, exact. But we live in a world where we are in a natural world to be sure, right? But we are anomalous objects in that natural world, right? First of all, we are conscious of our own existence. We are conscious that here we are in the world observing the world. Okay. That makes us different from most of the world. True?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah, and as far as we can tell, even in the living world and in the animal kingdom, we are anomalous in that we not only have consciousness, but we have self-consciousness. True?
Some of us.
Okay. Okay, and to push it further, coming back a little bit to Kant here as well, Kant says, I'm amazed by the starry heavens, and then I'm equally amazed by the moral law within me. So now we come to another thing, which
Oh, it's
is worth
59,
mentioning,
not 49.
which is, well, Adam Smith's phrase for it was the impartial spectator, which
Right.
is,
So we'll listen
to
for
quote Adam
9
Smith,
minutes.
there is this man within the breast, sort of another guy, as Smith envisioned him, inside of us that is clearly not us, because this guy, let's call him a guy, is a bit of a nuisance. This guy.
How did we reach the conclusion that it's not us? First of all, I'm not going to concede that
here's
there's
why.
a man in here or that he's not me.
Well, no, but the only point I'm trying to
Matt.
make in a roundabout way is that as humans, we are inherently moral beings. Morality is part of the equipment of being human, and in fact, it's a necessary part.
And
In
where
our
did that
criminal law,
evolve?
for example, if somebody is considered not to know the difference between right and wrong, we don't even hold them accountable for their actions. Which is to say, we consider morality.
That's not true.
That's not true?
Yeah.
If somebody, let's say, for example, some guy is so insane that he thinks he's Napoleon, and he goes out and kills somebody else.
We still hold them responsible for their actions. We just have graduated to a point where
Differently.
we are killing fewer people who are of diminished mental capacity, thankfully. But we are also committing people to institutions for their own benefits. But it's not like you just walk in and say, blameless.
He's right there.
Well,
they will go to it.
John Hinckley was in an
Asylum.
institution for shooting the President of the United States,
Yeah.
and he's out. So he was.
Is he better? Has he shot anybody else?
He hasn't shot anybody else, but my point
He
is
was
he
MK
was
Ultra.
held not responsible for that act in a criminal sense.
That is
I'd say he wasn't held not responsible because of his mental inacuity. Is that a word? He was held not responsible because the government probably MK Ultra'd him and told him to kill the president, and they were doing a cover up. So they probably put him in a little asylum for a couple years and fried his brain, and then let him out as a vegetable.
a technical definition within the law. He was still held responsible.
No, okay,
it's not
but
like we let them get away with it.
I'm not
It's
saying
not the
that.
same.
What
It's not the same punishment as we would give somebody who understands morality.
I'm saying is if somebody has no moral comprehension whatsoever, we basically call them a psychopath
Right.
or a sociopath. And all I'm trying to say is that that's a way of saying that you are outside the
excused.
human community because the normal moral equipment that the rest of us have that comes into play.
So just for clarity, you're suggesting that those individuals, and I would stay away from diagnostic
no
terms
sense of
normally, but
morality.
psychopaths, sociopaths, they don't have that inner man. That
I'm saying if society makes a determination that someone is, in a sense, a psychopath or a sociopath, they are considered, in a sense, outside the normal moral community of human beings, not accountable to the same.
So for clarity, we start off with this, we all have this, and now we've identified a group of people who don't have it.
And I'm saying that those people who don't have it, or at least have somehow, I'm not saying they weren't born with it. I'm saying I agree. I do think that our moral equipment, like our other equipment, can be damaged. It can be destroyed. It can be squelched. It can be brutalized. So yeah, let's assume that there's somebody who's gone through whatever experiences that have caused them to be morally anesthetized.
Okay.
And so, for example, they could bring in a little dog right here and joyfully stomp on it as
Oh,
the
please
audience
don't say
gasps in horror. Or if you want a more mixed reaction, a cat.
Uh-oh, cat. Where
The point I'm trying to make, however,
no
is
cat lovers in the audience?
the point I'm trying to make is just this: that we try to understand the cosmos. We don't just understand the physical world, which is the domain of science. I agree.
Sure.
But I'm saying we have to understand ourselves.
I couldn't agree more that we should understand ourselves, and I think that one of the biggest problems is that there are a number of assumptions.
Mental acuity is good?
The biggest problem humans make is probably asking the wrong questions, like, what's the purpose of my life? As if it was externally imposed and extant as a real thing that you could discover, rather than I make my own meaning and purpose in life.
What I'm going to demonstrate here, we're a little ahead of it, Jeff Hewitt, but in about 5 minutes from 59 to like 104, Dinesh hits it, and this is from 8 months ago. Dinesh hits him with an argument, and Matt gets a little triggered. 2 months later, Andrew Wilson debates Matt Dillahunty at the Modern Day Debate DebateCon, and Andrew Wilson poses the question that Dinesh is about to pose in his opening statement. And Andrew does it a little more harsh. Andrew doesn't really insult Matt in the opening, but he opens with Matt's toughest question. which is the short I made today, Dinesh hits Matt Dillahunty with his most feared debate question, and Andrew hits him with that question in the opening, and he storms off. Spoiler alert. Damn, I spoiled it. But I think I played it on the stream before, but we're going to play it again because I just saw this yesterday, this debate. I think I saw some of it a long time ago, and I didn't watch the whole thing. But yesterday I listened to the whole thing at work, and this part right here, I was like, that's Andrew's opening statement that got him to storm out of the debate conference. Like a punk, by the way. Like, they paid a lot of money and they had slots, and it was a conference. They like organized this, and you just walk off in the first 5 minutes because you don't like the opening. You can't combat that opening statement.
But we're talking
And
about
then he started insulting
moral
Andrew, so
being.
Andrew started insulting him back.
I would presume.
Wait, I mean, you just made an absolutely ridiculous statement. So
good.
I have to pause a little bit here because I'm sort of
That's fine. 'Cause
grasping
you make a
this.
ridiculous statement,
Well,
and I'll be
according
able
to
to do
you-
the same thing. Yeah.
According to you, we don't have a life purpose. I mean, let's think about it. First of all, almost all of us are in some sense trying to discover what the purpose of our life is, right? And there are huge industries devoted to this. There are talk shows devoted to this. It's a quest that just about
Today?
all of us, probably most of us in the audience, are on.
Tuesday?
And you're declaring at the outset that it is a quest, according to you, that has no answer, or at least has no external answer.
No, it is a quest that I don't see any reason to think that there is an externally imposed purpose. The fact that you might desire there to be a God, a divine, or a universe-imposed purpose doesn't mean there is one. The fact that humans quest for things doesn't mean that the answer is there, or doesn't mean that the answer they hope for is there.
Of course not. So no one is saying that the wish to have a purpose is enough. No, I'm not even saying that the universe is somehow...
What is our purpose?
Yeah, you saw that, Jeff?
I-
Yeah, that short I made, that question, and I cut a whole lot out of it. We're going to watch it here and watch the full question because I had to cut it a whole lot because that was like a 5-minute clip that I got down to a minute. And Matt definitely gets flustered, and then Andrew gives him the same thing in the opening, and I thought that was interesting.
I would say this, that I think in life, we are always asking this question. Am I, Dinesh, living the best life that I can live? In other words, is the...
And P.S., the reason Matt gets so flustered about this and doesn't like this so much is because he's married to a transformer. He's married to I'm doing quote unquote fingers. He's married to a woman. He's married to a trans woman. I think that's an appropriate term for YouTube. So Matt really gets flustered by this question.
life I'm living now somehow...
I think they're
off
married.
track,
I don't know if they're married, but they're
inauthentic.
together.
Is there...
Andrew
when
called
I
him his
say
husband.
something, there's me saying it, but is there a better me that would have said something different? In other words...
I agree.
Okay, so, in other words, my quest to find not only the choices I make, but the choices I ought to make is completely valid.
Ought claims.
True?
So there's a contextual thing. This is where we got with the
It's
the
not
labels and how we
descriptive,
ended up
it's
looking at this.
prescriptive. Ought claims.
My view is that my life has whatever meaning and purpose I give it.
Okay.
The notion that I should be looking for some externally imposed purpose is not only do I not have a good reason to think that there is such a purpose or that there would be or could be.
And you're saying, but whatever answer you give to that question of let's take, what is the purpose of Matt's life? And you're saying whatever answer you give is valid.
Yes, because if in fact there is some God who has a purpose for my life, I don't care what he thinks the purpose of my life should be. My life is mine.
Okay, let's explore that. Let's just say that you were to come here and announce to this audience,
Now that's
the purpose
ego.
of my life, Matt, is to, and I realize this is a difficult example, I was going to say to count the hairs on my head.
If a God existed who created me and controls the entire universe, you still think your life is yours? You still think, see, this is why I get flustered with the free will thing. Not really. I'm fine with the free will debate. When I'm drunk, I get flustered. It annoys me when I'm drunk, but when I'm sober, I can deal with it just fine and keep my cool. But atheists, well, some atheists don't believe in free will. But a lot of times you'll hear atheists and Satanists saying, my choice, it's my life. It doesn't matter if there's a God that controls everything and knows what's going to happen tomorrow. It's my life. I make my choices. I decide what's right for me. And it's like, look at the hubris. Like, have some humility? Not hubris. Hubris is the wrong word. Have some humility. Like, God controls everything. God knows what's going to happen tomorrow, but you still make your own choices. It's a very, I don't know when it crept into the church, probably around the Council of Nicaea, probably around like the 300, 400s. This idea that we could just will ourselves to do things and that God gave us free will, even though it's nowhere in the Bible. And it's like, that's like Crowleyan. It's like Satanist. It's satanic. It's like, you're basically saying you can prove God wrong, which is crazy.
This doesn't really work in your case.
There are hairs here on my head.
Right, there you go.
This is my head.
There you go. Okay, but you said, that's what I live for. Every day I wake up and I spend a few hours a day, at least in the time I'm not working or eating, counting the hairs on my beard.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I would submit that everybody here,
you couldn't do it.
You know what? I don't think you're living your best life, pal. You know, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, but it's kind of pointless.
Can you show that this isn't the purpose of my life? That there is some other purpose?
Well, yes, I would. I mean,
What's
I
the
think
purpose?
I think
If
I
you're
could make
just a result
arguments to
of
that
evolution
effect.
and random
Let's pursue the example even further, make it
occurrences.
more ridiculous so we can see how obvious it is. Let's just say, for example, and I don't mean to be going into the trans territory,
Here we go.
but I'm going to go there a little bit. Let's say I were to say,
Look, Matt rolled his eyes
I
already.
identify as a toad.
A toad.
Okay?
I
And
identify as a
so what I do is I
toad.
get up in the morning and I start jumping around like a toad. And for a while, people go, hey, that guy's an eccentric, man. What the hell is he doing? And then I go, listen, it's not just up to me. I'm getting a little annoyed that there are all these haters out there who don't respect my identity as a toad. Disney won't cast me in toad races in their movies. I'm denied rights under the Constitution. All these people look down on me and make jokes when I come, jumping by.
Bigots.
Okay? So, and my point is not that I've decided to become a toad. My point is I've always been a toad. I'm just a toad in a human body. Okay.
I was born this way.
And I seriously press this. You would come to me, I think,
And say, you're crazy.
You are a member of Homo sapiens. You're not actually a toad. This purpose of your life that you have ascribed to yourself is based on some deep psychological disorders.
Did you know that by pitching in...
Oh, they run the Obama and Biden ad right after that. Right after that, boom, he dropped the bomb. And then we get Joe Obama.
the costs of a morning cup of Joe, you can...
Look, Joe even has Obama doing his dang political ads for him. And Joe just stands there with his eyes barely open, falling over. Obama's holding him up, doing a mug club ad read.
can help re-elect my friend Joe.
Whether it's
My
$3
friend
or
Joe.
more, no gift is too small to make a difference.
This
By the
is
time you finish this video,
this is the worst campaign ad I've ever seen. I can't stand this.
a lot of folks across the country will have already chipped in.
Yeah, a lot
Joe
of
and I are
folks.
hoping
yeah.
you'll do the same.
We're
Joe
all
and
on
I-
a role to
yeah.
play, ensuring that Donald Trump never steps foot in the Oval Office again.
I'm Joe
We're
Biden.
relying on
and,
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
No, I will not.
You have very poor self-perception.
Okay, you guys messed up the
Like
freaking-
you have ascribed to yourself is based on some deep psychological disorders.
Matt doesn't like
You
that.
have very poor self-perception of who you are as a human being. And who you are as a human being is you're a son, you're a brother, you're a graduate of an Ivy League college and you make movies, you know, go do those things and find a better, a higher purpose in life than jumping around in a dirty pond.
You think that's what I would come to you and say?
I hope so. Unless you, I hope so. You may,
Or you're a
No.
weirdo.
you might come back. You might come join me.
Because first of all, I'm not a busybody who worries about what other people do and how they feel and what their views
No,
are.
that's not. It's not.
But also,
but that's not.
Atheist
but also,
audience.
I try to avoid fallacious arguments. And in fact, you
Where's the
are a
fallacy?
Homo sapien, but Homo sapiens include multiple different genders.
Multiple different genders.
And the fact that someone's gender identity doesn't match what you think it should be.
Oh, so we're making
is
stuff
none
up
of your
now.
damn business.
Well, hold on. Okay, so right up to this point, you've been invoking science, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, science is trumped by psychology.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, because according to you, now your gender is not something, it's not a fact
Biological.
in the natural world. Even
Correct.
Though, yeah, your gender.
Your genetic sex and what your chromosomes are, those are facts, but your gender is a social construct.
No, because the French
This
Really?
told
is
us,
the difference between, let's
Okay.
say,
because a bunch of anarchists in the French Revolution told us that gender was a construct. Now all of a sudden we have to change our entire language through the history of the world where gender and sex were synonymous. Now we have to, they're separate now because some French weirdos told us that.
someone who's genetically male and someone who's genetically female. Someone who has XX or XY chromosomes. And by the way, there are more than two of those because there's all sorts of chromosomal abnormalities. There are intersex people. The number of people who are born intersexed every year would
shut
shock
up.
most people because they
Intersex
just
is
don't
not a
think that
different
this sort of
gender.
thing happens. However, that is about what your chromosomes are, what genetic predisposition you have.
Why do they use that as an argument? That's such a dumb argument. It's like when you're in an abortion argument and they start bringing up rape. It's a stupid argument. It's a minutia, and it's still not a good argument. You're using a fraction of a percentage to justify everything else, and even that fraction of a percentage is still easily rebutted. Rape does not justify abortion because you don't punish a child for what an evil man did to a woman, to an innocent woman. You don't punish a child for that. You punish the man. Easily rebutted. Intersex is not a different gender. Intersex, the doctor is still you're still gonna be classified as a man or a woman. Maybe you have a micropenis or a fat old labia or whatever they call it, a big old fat labia. Which they call micropenis or whatever you got, you know, you're still going to be a man or a woman when you walk in the doctor's office. You're just going to say, I'm a man, I'm a woman with a micropenis. Also, I have a working vajayjay. I have the sex organs of a woman, but I also got this extra little dangly thing that doesn't really do anything. You're intersex, but you're still a woman. You just got an extra little appendage. We don't say that people on average, we don't say that on average the human society has 1.8 legs because some people lost their legs in war. Some people were born missing one leg, or some people might be born with 3 legs. I don't know. Conjoined twins got 4 legs sometimes. Maybe. I don't know. But my point is, we still say people have 2 legs. People have 2 legs. There are abnormalities, there are defects, there are things that can happen in your life. Maybe you get your leg chopped off. For the most part, we wouldn't even qualify it like that. We wouldn't even say for the most part people have 2 legs. We just say people have 2 legs. So then his argument is basically, but what if you don't have to? What if you were born with 3 legs? Shut up.
But it doesn't talk about what your state of mind is, what sort of self-perception you have. And so in addition to genetic sex, we also have gender, which actually falls into a number of different categories. So my apologies to all of my trans friends for the things that I'm about to get slightly wrong. There's a difference between gender identity and gender expression. And that was, the gender identity is the gender that you associate with. But the reason I say these are social constructs is because what is a man? What makes a man a manly man? Well, you have the machismo aspect of the brawny and blah, blah, but is someone who is weaker and more effeminate somehow less of a man? This is why this is a social construct, because it has to do with what roles we as a society put on it, which is why 150 years ago, pink was for boys and blue was for girls, and now it has reversed, although I would go with black for everybody. But the thing is, at the end of the day, what I would say to you, if you were hopping around like a frog, is I would ask you how you're doing. I would ask you how you feel. And if you're able to communicate to me that you identify as a frog, I'm not going to be running around saying, oh my gosh, let me fix this. It's when there's a demonstration that what you're doing may be something that society should care about, that is going to result in some sort of self-harm or a problem for your life. In other words, I'm okay with living and let living, but as long as my trans friends are committing suicide at an inordinate rate and are being murdered left and right because there are bigots who think that whatever your chromosomes are or whatever particular genitalia you might have dangling is the one thing that matters, as long as a friend of mine in well, not an actual friend of mine, but someone in Puerto Rico the other night was murdered for using the bathroom that they associate with, when bathrooms are for peeing and pooping and hopefully washing your hands when you're done. What people are doing to try to suggest that you can't be who you are is absolutely repugnant, and it is busybody. There's nothing anti-science about this. It is psychology. And even if we were to say, and I'm not saying this, so before, I'm saying this because this comes up. Even if you were to say, this is all gender dysphoria and it's mental illness and these people aren't what they think they are, what science has to say so far, based on what we've explored and discovered within these individuals, is that being supportive, encouraging, and allowing them to transition is the single best path to them living the life they want to live and surviving.
All right. We get it, Matt. Okay, so when I saw that, I was like, oh, so he had been asked that question before and he gave a stupid answer. And I'm sure people made clips of it and shorts of it 8 months ago and all that stuff. So that happens. Then 2 months later, this debate happens from Modern Day Debate, Andrew Wilson versus Matt Dillahunty. And I was pretty hyped for this one, because Dillahunty is like a high-level atheist. He's like high-level respected atheist. I don't think he's smart, and I think he's a douche. But he's like one of these respected high-level atheist guys, you know? I think there are much better representatives for the atheist community. Alex O'Connor, Sam Harris, even Hitchens is a much better example of an intellectual atheist who's really got his stuff figured out. Whereas Matt just kind of copies what all they say and then throws some insults in, and he's very snide and kind of just, I'm better than you. And he's gay. He's super gay. But anyway, so let's now watch this. The same question posed in the opening of Andrew's statement. Not as nicely, though. Andrew's not going to talk about a frog. Andrew's going to talk about Matt's husband. And maybe that's what but I don't even think he brings up the husband in the opening statement. I think Matt gets mad, and then Andrew starts going into the personal attacks.
We're going to do a percentage.
But we'll pay attention, and you'll see that Matt hurls the first personal attack.
Basis. So percent at the start of the debate and then at the end.
Audio sucks.
For our online audience, we highly encourage you to check out Manifold, which is linked in the description box. You can actually vote right now in terms of who you think will win. In other words, be more persuasive in this debate by clicking on that link right now in the description box. Thanks so much to Manifold for sponsoring our event.
See, winning a debate is not about changing minds. Winning a debate is about who was more persuasive, who had the better arguments, who handled themselves better in the debate. Who made the audience walk away and say, huh, I never thought about it that way. I might have to look at this again. Even if they don't change their mind, that person still won the debate. Whereas the person who just says who's saying what everybody already believes, just basic, like what we think is common sense, but it's not common sense. It's common, like, narratives that the world has told us. And then they just walk out like, oh, I already knew that,
And, by the way, last, if you want to vote in person, and actually do that right here, going first, but before we do, we're going to do that quick hand vote. If you happen to lean even like a smidge or all the way towards secular humanism, would you slip your hand up?
This is a debate about Christian ethics versus secular humanism.
And then we're going to give Chris a chance to, he's going to vote or count them.
And the majority of the audience in modern day debate, even though James is a Christian, his moderators are trans.
And then
his moderators,
smidge or all the way,
his chat moderators, his debate moderators, his organizers, the people who help run the channel, they're all trans, atheists, LGBT, and the audience is majority atheist. And when Christians go on the channel, they get roasted by the audience in the chat. So if you ever go on modern day debate, you probably don't want to read the chats. I don't think you should be reading the chats in general while you're doing a debate. But afterwards, you don't want to go back and read the chats because it's a bunch of degenerate atheist weirdos on modern day debate, which doesn't make sense to me because James is a based Christian dude. But his circle are all a bunch of atheists, secular humanists, naturalists, LGBT folk. It's weird.
all the degrees in between for Christianity, if you slip your hand.
I'm not saying you can't have those people in your audience, and you can't talk with those people, and you can't debate with those people. But if you went to modern day debate during a Christian versus atheist debate, and you read the chats, you would think it was an atheist channel. Which it is. It's it's not an atheist channel, but it's supposed to be a unbiased debate channel that is they don't pick a side. They don't play sides on modern day debate. It's just weird that atheists have taken over it.
Hand up.
Huge Subway tat.
Right,
he has
great.
a giant back
Chris
tat
has that
of
recorded.
Subway.
And then
What's
we'll
up,
resolve
Matthew?
the market at the end of the debate. But with that, we're going to kick it over to Matt for his opening.
Yeah, he's got a giant back piece, like shoulder blade to shoulder blade, all the way across here. He's got a giant Subway logo, and that he got it so that he could get free Subway for life.
Statement. Thanks so much for being with us. And Matt, the floor is all yours for your opening.
Is it on his back or is it on his chest? I can't remember. But it's either like a giant thing on his chest or a giant thing on his back. I can't remember. But I saw it during a stream once. It's funny. He's like, yeah, you want to see my tattoo? I get free Subway for life because of this. And it's like a giant Subway logo.
Thanks so much, James. And thanks, Andrew, for being here and all of you for showing up. Humanism.
Oh, wait. Does Matthew's opening statement? Oh, Matt's opening statement is first. Okay. That's fine. This is an hour-long video, but Matt's only there for 15 minutes of it. So
has as its focus the betterment of humanity in this life, while Christianity has as its focus adherence to a God and the disposition of souls in an afterlife. Our best efforts in this life are, according to the Bible, like filthy rags. Our best attempts at righteousness and justice are portrayed as vile and disgusting when compared to a bumbling God constantly failing to get his creation to love and respect him, while also prescribing the death penalty for nearly everything: adultery, blasphemy, breaking the Sabbath, disobedient children, witchcraft, worshiping another God, not being a virgin on your wedding night. Which is better for society?
Based God.
Well, I'd say the one that has human society as its focus and isn't so intent on killing humans for not buying into a specific doctrine. Heaven and hell, if they were to exist, aren't human societies. What a God thinks is unknown and irrelevant. There's never been a secular humanist nation, either in a governmental form, which I'm not advocating for, or in a primary philosophical view of the majority of the population, which means we have to look at the ideals between these two positions. Secular humanism has been around for 90 years. In 1933, the first Secular Humanist Manifesto was published. It identified humanism as a religion with 15 points. It was updated 40 years later in 1973 with a lot more information. And then it was incredibly shortened in 2003. In addition to the manifestos, there are organizations like the Council for Secular Humanism, American Humanists, etc. In the first version of the manifesto, it's presented as a religious view where it acknowledges there's no supernatural guarantee of human value. We advocate a heightened sense of personal life and a cooperative effort to promote social well-being. The goal of humanism is a free and universal society in which people voluntarily and intelligently cooperate for the common good. In the manifesto version 2, 40 years later, this includes a lot more information. Short versions, they begin by saying those who sign this disclaim that they are setting forth a binding credo. This statement reaches for a vision in time that needs direction. We affirm a set of common principles that can serve as a basis for united action. This isn't a to-do list or a thou shalt not list. We're fine with religion's inspiration, but we're opposed to dogma and authoritarian views that place anything above human needs. Religions don't pass the test of scientific evidence. The promises of immortal salvation or eternal damnation are illusory and harmful. Ethics and moral values stem from human experience, and situational ethics stem from the human need and human interest. Reason and intelligence are the most effective instruments we possess. We are not advocating for the use of scientific intelligence independent of or in opposition to emotion, for we believe in the cultivation of feeling and love. Individuals are precious and their dignity is affirmed. This is important. Us, human beings, affirming the value of individuals and human beings is more powerful than a God affirming it, and it's infinitely more powerful than a human claiming a God affirms this, which is all we appear to have. The third version of the manifesto, in a nutshell, is so short. Whether a God exists or not, we have problems to solve. We have to do this without appeals to the supernatural entities or intervention. We must utilize the best methods at our disposal. Reason and science seem to be the primary ones to assess reality and reach conclusions. Justice, fairness, equality, and autonomy are the primary goals. This life, not a hypothetical afterlife, is what we're trying to improve. So what happens?
I'm on TCG Player right now. You're sending me a freaking...
When religions control societies and governments, either legitimate or illegitimate. Well, conflicts with other societies and other governments may not have any reasoned diplomatic solution. Need only look to Gaza. But that's Islam and Judaism. Here we have Christianity as a primary and Christian nationalist. Under secular humanism, you get to be a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, gay, straight, socialist, capitalist. You just don't get to impose those necessarily on others through acts of fiat. Not necessarily true with the religions in charge of the government. Mike Johnson's the new Speaker of the House in the United States. He's homophobic as all get out. He's argued to criminalize homosexuality. Homosexualities, by the way, are U.S. citizens with specific rights that he wants to take away. Moreover, he advocates for gay conversion therapy, which is unscientific and torturous because he thinks he can help them pray the gay away and the gay can be eliminated. He's not anti-gay. He just wants them to cease to exist as gay. They get to keep being human beings. He thinks there's no right to sodomy. Privacy laws don't protect everything, and he thinks that what sort of sex you have, it should be his to regulate. Sodomy, by the way, is anal or oral copulation, which I have it on good authority heterosexual folks engage in as well. 2022, he presented what was called the Don't Say Gay bill, outlawing any discussion of gender identity, sexual orientation, or related subjects, which was incredibly problematic because he ignored what the experts have to say about age.
Also, when you listen to Matt's opening statement here, and he's talking about homosexuality and gay conversion therapy in a secular humanist versus Christian debate, this is what he's talking about in his opening statement. Is homosexuality and transgenderism and gayness and blah, blah, blah. So Andrew's opening is perfectly justified. He responds directly to it.
Appropriate content and how critical it is, especially for kids under 10, which
Jeff.
is his target.
Jeff, See, great minds think alike, Jeff, because I wasn't looking at the chat. I have a bunch of other windows open, and I pulled up the chat after I said that, and you said he opened the door here. Exactly. He started this. He brought this into his opening. So why? So Andrew's perfectly justified in bringing sexuality and saying what happens when we start saying men are women and women are men in your secular humanist world. We have to have some objective standard of right and wrong, moral and moral. You know, we can't non-contradiction. Matt likes to talk about science and the laws of logic, the law of non-contradiction. We can't have two contradictory beliefs and both of us be right. That doesn't make sense. Somebody's got to be right. We could both be wrong, but one of us, we can't both be right.
To have correct language in order to better report on and about sexual abuse. His policy, if it had been implemented, would have made it more traumatic for kids and more difficult for them to out their abusers and easier for abusers to get away with it. Happily, it failed. In 2015, he blamed abortions and the breakup of the nuclear family for school shootings. He also says the teaching of evolution is to blame for mass shootings because we've taught a whole generation, of couple generations now, of Americans that there's no right or wrong, that it's about survival of the fittest. And if you evolve from a primordial slime, what is that life of any sacred value? He wants student-led prayer back in school. So, Speaker, are you okay with Islamic prayers, satanic prayers, or just particular Christian prayers? He's opposed to the separation of religion and government, sometimes called the separation of church and state. He thinks that the founders only wanted to protect the church from the state and didn't want to protect the state from the church, citing the notorious lying pseudo-historian David Barton to support this view. He definitely seeks to impose his views on others. Now, some of you are saying, hang on, he's the Speaker of the House, he's not the Speaker of Christianity, or that's not my type of Christianity. Great. But what is your type? What's your type of Christianity like? Because there's a lot of them. How is it better? And how can we make sure that we get your better version than the one that Mike Johnson wants? He thinks his version's correct. So do you. Countless denominations without consensus. He's already got more power than my opponent has right now. So I don't know Andrew at all. I don't know what version of Christianity he's advocating for. I didn't bother to look him up. We literally just met and said hello as I sat down here. Is his version of Christianity better? I really hope so, because it'd be hard to get a whole lot worse. But they point to the same book. They point to the same Savior, the same history. Liberal and moderate Christians provide legitimacy and cover to hide the fundamentalists and to allow them to engage in Christian nationalism. Secular humanism allows you to be a Christian right up until you try to oppose it on others, and then you get to keep being a Christian. You just don't get to practice it in the way where you're imposing it on others. You can pray, you can go to church, you can tithe, you can worship, gather, share, discuss, convert, vote based on your values. You can vote against your own best interest. I see people doing all the time. You can teach your kids your values under secular humanism. The foundational principles of secular humanism solve conflicts with data, debate, and discussion instead of coercion, conversion, or conquest. There is no secular humanist sect and no denomination of secular humanists that's ever required someone to believe something that is not.
Oh, I was thinking the other day, I thought about in the show, I said, do Napoleon and Genghis Khan count as dictators? Can we do them in the dissecting a dictator series? And then I thought about it. I was like, no, they're conquerors. Maybe we could do a conqueror. Maybe after dissecting a dictator, we can do like concerning the conquerors or covering the conquerors or something like that. We could do Napoleon, Genghis Khan. Who else? There are probably some Muslim conquerors. Muhammad was a conqueror. He was a warlord. We could do Muhammad, Genghis Khan, Napoleon. And if we went from dictators to conquerors, we could end with Hitler because he was both. Right? Who are some other cool conquerors? Alexander the Great. I don't know. I think we could think of some cool conquerors.
Empirically verifiable. That's ever ordered the death of another person. That's ever ordered or acted to act or destroy property of any person or government. that has ever overthrown a democracy to impose a secular humanist regime, that's ever been connected with terrorist cells and activities, that's ever denied freedom of speech or expression, that's ever called for the deaths of people for criticizing secular humanism or any religious view, that has ever advocated for or inspired suicide bombers or terrorist attacks. Those things are simply not consistent in any way with the core values of secular humanists.
This is not worth selling.
There is no threat to Christians, Jews, Muslims, Scientologists from secular humanists. There might be from scientific skepticism and rationality if you're not able to actually demonstrate the truth of your claim. But life, freedom, and an equitable relationship are the foundation of secular humanism. There is no list of thou shalt not or thou shalts, because we recognize that nearly every attempt at such a list fails at some point as we learn more about our world and about getting better at understanding the world better, about doing better, and being better in this life. The goal of humanism is a free and universal society in which people voluntarily and intelligently cooperate.
These Brawlies were $11 last time I checked, and now they've gone up to 12. The Vegetas dropped from 21 to 15. But the Brawlies went up from 11 to 12. I want to keep these Brawlies to make a crit Brawly deck, but I know it's probably a cheap deck to build, and this is probably the only card that's... But I'm sure this card's going to drop in value hard, so I could sell it now at 12, and if I ever want to build a crit Brawly deck, I could just buy 4 of them for probably $3 in the future. So I'm just going to sell them. SS Brawly, well-honed Saiyan Instinct. All right, his opening's almost done.
For the common good. If you have an objection to that or a better goal, what is it?
You found a new place that checks all your boxes. Now make sure your connected home is ready to go with Quantum Fiber Internet.
All right, thank you so much for your introductory statement. We're going to hand it over to Andrew Wilson for 10 minutes. So thank you for being here, Andrew, and the floor is yours.
You're welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Andrew Wilson. I am the host of the one and only Crucible, the fastest growing debate channel on the internet, James. Just in case you didn't know. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate everybody being here. All of you are way too stodgy in this room. Very low energy. Just wanted to let all of you know that. Ladies and gentlemen of all pronouns, the Z's, the Zers, the hims, and hers, I would like to thank you for tuning in today for this exciting in-person conference on modern day debate. My name is Andrew Wilson. There's a few ways this debate can go. The topic is Christian ethics versus secular humanism, which has a better foundation. The funny thing is, I already won that topic because, as Matt explained to Jay Dyer, he has no justification under the skeptical belief structure to give an accounting for any meta-ethical presupposition he may have. He just kind of grants himself stuff. He grants himself logic, he grants himself reason, he grants himself an entire worldview, even though he's using an unjustified starting position for it. So I'm not honestly all that interested in doing the God not real dough debate because, one, it's boring, and two, it's also really boring. It goes like this. I don't see enough evidence and remain unconvinced there's a God. Then I say, but you use a theistic worldview of justification like there is a God to grant yourself logic and everything else. So instead of that, I'm just going to grant Matt's entire worldview. 2/3 or more of this entire planet are all operating inside of a shared delusion that they were created by a sky daddy who loves him some slavery and murderousness. He thinks it's funny to kind of cosmically with people. That's his deal, kind of his whole thing. That's Matt's worldview. So now Matt's right, and the question becomes, should we let them to continue to believe in this nonsensical Stone Age madness, or do we stop them from engaging in it? My contention is, even if God isn't real at all, that people acting as though he is still superior to whatever nonsensical egalitarian worldview Matt can come up with. See, Matt also just acts as though the things he believes are true. He believes, and therefore acts as though logic is real, math is real. Everything is real based on his presuppositional belief that they are real. You see, human flourishing, the cornerstone of Matt's ideology and that of secular humanism, is totally meaningless. Flourishing by whose metric? From my perspective, for instance, attempting to lie to people who claim men can be women isn't human flourishing. From Matt's perspective, it is. Why? Why should the collective of humanity lie and say men can get pregnant? Why should they say that men can have periods? Things which are categorically and obviously false.
Impossible.
That preserving homosexuality in society is good for human flourishing, even though they are reproductive dead ends. And that Western society and egalitarianism is superior to those evil theist society, even though the Western nations can't even reproduce their own populations, but instead have to replace their population with foreigners from those theist nations that can reproduce. Let's start with a basic societal question recently asked of the West, who has now embraced a scientific and non-theistic approach to governing. Super basic question every kindergartner knows. If you don't believe me, go watch Kindergarten Cop. The question posed to the Western nation is, can a man be a woman? All right? To the question of if a man can be a woman, they say the answer is yes. And the way we will decree they can be a woman is by simply saying that woman now means male. Problem solved. Thank you, secular humanists. Thank you so much. Nope, not kidding. Why, you ask, would people be this over-the-top stupid? Well, it's simple. The good is the good, man. We have to do what's good for human society and human flourishing. And if you don't call these deranged lunatics something they obviously aren't, they might self-terminate. So in order to avoid that, we need to make everybody on planet Earth lie to them. This is human flourishing. Just redefine shit, pretend it's true. How laughably absurd this worldview is. Matt will often say, I remain unconvinced. Well, Matt, I'm also going to use your standard. I need for you to 100% convince me beyond a shadow of a doubt that males can have babies. What's the answer going to be? No, Andrew, you big stupid. Males can't have babies. Men can have babies. Because we just defined man to include females, dummy.
Right,
well,
because it's
Matt,
gender,
I
not
remain
sex.
unconvinced. I'd like Matt to convince me that if you are a male and you are having sex with another male, which would not be allowed in my version of a secular humanist worldview, how is it that you're not just basically...
Right. So you got to understand what Andrew's doing here. He has conceded the God is not real argument in the very beginning of his opening statement. He said, I'm going to give it to you, right? I'm going to give you your argument. I'm going to say God's not real, right? In his opening statement, he's saying, let's assume God's not real for a second. We live in a secular humanist world where everybody makes their own rules. You can't then argue that my worldview, where we're going to lock up whatever, we're going to lock up, let's say, this is just an example. Let's say in my secularist human community, in my secularist human worldview, I want to put gay people in jail. Okay? I don't think gay people should just go to get sent to jail. And they maybe should get banished, but not be sent to jail. But let's say pretend God's not real. And in my secularist worldview, in my community, in my government, we want to put gay people in jail. How can you justify that you're right and I'm wrong when you just said there is no, we're all allowed to be right and wrong? You can't tell me that my worldview is wrong. You can't tell me that yours is any better and mine's any worse. In my community, it makes us happy. It makes us happier when we do that. How can you argue with that? Matt can't argue with it, as you're about to find out.
Having sex with a version male and you are having sex with another male, which would not be allowed in my version of a secular humanist worldview, how is it that you're not just basically having sex with a guy with a wig on? I really want to know the answer to that question. Not just me, but all rational people who aren't lunatics.
Does have sex with a guy
also
with a
want
wig
to know
on.
why
that's where
it's ma'am isn't a complete and total crock of garbage.
I think that's where, you see, as soon as he said, you're basically just sleeping with a man with a wig on, that's when Matt stopped taking notes. He put his paper aside. He looks at James and he starts getting up because Matt's married to a man with a wig. Matt does sleep with a man with a wig. So, but that's not even a personal shot. That's just a broad statement. Just so happens that it applies to Matt.
Why "It's ma'am" isn't a complete rational guy with a wig on.
Watch.
I really want to know
See,
the
as soon as
answer
she
to that
says that, and
question.
the
Not
"it's
just
ma'am"
me,
thing,
but all rational people who aren't lunatics also want to know why "it's ma'am" isn't a complete and total
See?
crock
He just looked at James and he like raised his eyebrows, like, really? Really? This is what we're gonna do?
of garbage. Because I remain unconvinced that it isn't a
He's texting James right now to say, I'm done. I'm not doing this.
total lie, and that these people don't just pervert the language to include their own perversions and then add human flourishing at the end. Matt has said he wouldn't make a law.
That is how you win a debate in an opening statement.
Stopping 9-year-olds from having sex with each other. Not kidding. Now I know that make a law stopping 9-year-olds from having sex with each other. Not kidding. Now I know this is going to sound a little bit totalitarian, but I would in fact create laws that made it a crime for a 9-year-old to have sex with their 9-year-old. I would hold the parents criminally liable for allowing this to happen in my evil authoritarian society, where I don't even let 9-year-olds have sex or the parents go straight to jail for negligence. Now, I think that's better
you
for human
authoritarians are
flourishing.
evil.
I think maybe parents would be far less likely to let their 9-year-olds do that if they went to jail. Stupid me. Next, I would in my authoritarian society decree that all simulated sex acts in public were criminal offenses and would make sure that all people went to prison for the crime of indecency, which doesn't assist with human flourishing, and I'd like to know why I'm wrong. Secular humanism can basically be whatever the hell you want it to be. It doesn't really need the principle of freedom or the starting axiom of freedom and peace in order to postulate whatever it wants. It's sloganeering. They're slogans. They don't mean anything. Okay? Why do 9-year-olds need to be able to have sex in order to advance humanity? Why do we need to lie about a person's sex in order to advance humanity? Why are these things necessary for human flourishing? Why are decency laws bad? Why would Christian ethics stop flourishing when the theist mandate is to
Now, another reason he's mad is because that 9-year-olds would be allowed to have sex line that Matt said in a debate. Matt said that in a debate. Slightly taken out of context, but that's what the debate's for. That's why when you come back in your rebuttal, you say, you took that out of context. This is what I meant. This is what I said. This is what I meant. That's what you do in a debate. Your opponent, Andrew, would have lost points for that because he took Matt out of context. Matt would rebuttal it with a strong rebuttal and say, no, this is what I meant. This is what I said. Matt would come out looking better out of that. But instead, he walked away. He didn't even defend himself like a punk.
Reproduce, and the secular mandate is let's just all have sex and have fun, bro. That sounds way worse for human flourishing. In fact, I would say not reproducing is the worst possible thing for human flourishing, because if there's no humans, how do you flourish? So I guess, in essence, step 1, I remain unconvinced. Step 2, I need to be convinced, so I am no longer unconvinced. And step 3, but God not real dough doesn't matter here. I've already granted it to still demonstrate just how stupid this ideology actually is. With that, I'll yield my time, and I'm happy to get into it.
And that's a great opening tactic, to automatically concede your opponent's point and then look at the world from their worldview and show them how stupid their point is, how it doesn't make any sense. Great.
Hey, James, I just sent you a message.
I sent you a text, bro. I don't want to do
We're going to
this.
kick it into an open discussion, so 50 minutes, and let's kick it.
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to sit here and dignify the preparation that I went through and what people were here for.
You're so indignant.
Keep interrupting me.
I am.
Okay.
You're so indignant.
Would the moderator like to step in so that I can finish what I'm saying?
Please, Matt. Please. How dare someone have an opposing worldview?
I'm not going to sit here and dignify what was supposed to.
It's opening. It's open dialogue. They don't have a rebuttal segment. They go straight into open dialogue for almost an hour. So, you know, this is open dialogue, Matt. It's not your rebuttal time.
Supposed to be a debate about Christianity versus secular humanism, which one's better for the world.
Yes.
With someone who clearly showed up with an agenda that has nothing to do with that.
What do you mean? You started the sex stuff in your opening statement, Matt. You started the homosexuality and all that stuff in your opening statement. You attacked Christians for doing gay conversion therapy to try to combat the world. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the whole world is shoving gayness down kids' throats, and Christians doing gay conversion therapy is just us trying to combat the world. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Someone who refers to trans people as deranged lunatics who will self-terminate if you dare to question them.
How am I wrong, Matt?
Someone who misrepresents a quote from a debate where I said I wouldn't make a law about 9-year-olds having...
Oh, so he does rebuttal it. He takes just enough time to get a little rebuttal in there and defend himself, and then he storms out.
Having sex being legal with respect to the 9-year-olds, not that I was in any way in favor of it and that I was actually opposed to it, which I addressed during that debate. But moreover, this is not remotely an honest interaction on the front of whether or not secular humanism is valuable. Because this, when he presented his position here, has nothing to do with secular humanism. From the get-go, it's all about me. Matt thinks, Matt thinks, Matt thinks. I'm giving what Matt thinks, what Matt thinks, what Matt thinks, what Matt thinks.
Matt's position.
I came in with the secular humanist manifesto. I came in with positions that aren't just that aren't merely my positions.
Oh, well, as long as multiple people hold the position, it
this
makes it
guy's
valid.
not serious, and I'm leaving. James, if you want a refund, you
well,
let me
good
know.
day, sir. And I'll cover your refund, Mr.
Cool.
Matt.
He just said he'd cover my
I
refund.
would cover his refund.
No.
That's okay. Andrew makes like $1,500 every stream he does. He just jumps on the stream. He has 1,000 people watching, and he makes like $1,500 for doing a 6-hour stream where he just talks trash about people. He'll make like $1,500. He'll be all right.
Nope. Nope. No, I'm not going to dignify a debate with someone who walked in to trash talk people and be smug and all of the things that he's being right now. He's already said he will cover my expenses.
And to be fair, or not, I don't know. I always say to be fair, but honestly, Andrew was nervous. I could tell Andrew was nervous because he usually does internet debates. This was one of the first times I saw him show up to a convention. They flew out there with a camera crew. They documented the whole thing. And Andrew was nervous. He looks nervous in this thing. And Matt is a professional at this, at showing up at huge auditoriums and speaking to large crowds of people. Andrew's not as good at that. He's an internet guy. Now, not saying that he's not going to be a Zeppelin for the right at large things. He can do that. I know he can do it. This is one of the first times I saw him go to a thing like this, and he seemed a little nervous. He's also in a pool of liberals and atheists, so he's the opposition. He's on the back foot. It's way harder to do it in front of a crowd of people in a room than it is to do it in front of a screen and a camera. So just a little, not really even a critique. It's just I saw that he looked a little nervous. And Matt should have taken advantage of that. But he didn't. He ran away like a little girl.
You don't have anything to worry about. This debate is over. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Jackass.
Did you call me?
And so there it goes, jackass. And now Andrew starts saying some mean things, but he said jackass as he was walking away, like a punk, like a little punk. As you're walking out of the room, you say jackass, jackass. That's like a Waterboy. What's the movie? Jackass. As you're like walking away, what a punk, bro. Now Andrew starts lobbing the personal attacks because he's already left.
A jackass, Matt? Well, you and your husband have a good day, man. Have a wonderful day, Matt.
Got him. Got him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was fine. I mean, if you're going to take a parting shot, I will too, Matt. Yeah. Yeah.
I think my parting shot's correct.
No, your parting shot's correct.
Your parting shot was correct. Your parting shot was to call him a donkey. His parting shot was to call out the fact that you have a husband who pretends to be a woman.
Oh man, tough.
One of those is correct. Andrew is not, in fact, a donkey. But Matt does, in fact, have a husband who he calls his wife.
Tough crowd.
Happy Gilmore, jackass. Oh yeah, and then yeah.
We do appreciate you coming.
You guys covering our costs too?
No, you guys got to cover your own costs. Sorry.
So I agree that what Andrew said wasn't helpful in that. Well, hold on, just let me actually talk.
And James is defending Matt. Now maybe James is just trying to get Matt to come back.
So is Andrew?
But James says I agree that Andrew shouldn't have said that. Stay tuned, bro, I want to watch this show, but it's not on my bootleg site yet. It looks pretty good.
Attempt to commune with the devil.
It's from Stephen King? Oh no, Stephen King said it was absolutely brilliant. Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't know. I've never read this from Stephen King. Anyway.
That does come off as
The presentation of a correct world.
No, James. He called out his husband because he called him a jackass as he was walking away. That's fair.
So, but at the same
James
time,
is a beta.
I can't help.
Man.
I would like.
I want to believe that you're wrong, but I think you might be right. But I want to believe that you're wrong. But I like James. I want to believe that you're wrong, and I want to say you're wrong, but I can't, Jeff. I can't say it because I think you might be right. But I love James. James is cool. But come on, man. Tighten up.
Matt to refute and explain to Andrew, like, hey, here's why calling people lunatics isn't an argument, and this is intellectually lowbrow. But I can't help that Matt left. I'm sorry about that. So if you want to email me, I'm at moderndaydebate@gmail.com. I could even give you my number if you want to email me first and we can talk. But I think we'd agree that, calling people names isn't an argument and it's lowbrow.
I didn't call anybody any
At
name.
the same time,
And actually, well, because they're doing this poll not just from the live audience, but from they have a website that they're promoting where you can vote on things. And on the website, 66% of people agree with Matt, which isn't a huge margin. That means 44% of people agree with Andrew, but that's a lot of people on the website. The people in that room, I bet, is probably 90% pro Matt.
my preference would be that Matt would kind of explain that for the internet to see. I think that's why we've hosted these debates, is that there are bad arguments, that they'd be exposed to the world.
Also, Andrew is openly a blood sports debater. Blood sports debates are internet debates where when it gets to yelling and calling names and stuff, that's acceptable. In an internet blood sport debate, it's not a structured debate. It's not a moderated debate. It's we're going to get on here and we're going to talk and we're going to yell at each other. We do blood sports on Fridays and Saturdays sometimes. And where we're just, like we talked about the moon landing. Me and I think it was Steve and Nada, and I think it was me and Steve and Nada. No, me and Matthew and Steve. I don't know. It was I know Matthew was there. I can't remember if Steve had left yet. It was either Nada or Steve, but we talked about the moon landing for a while. And that was not a blood sports debate because we weren't calling names and insulting each other. But it wasn't moderated. It's just off the cuff, and we're just, going back and forth. It's more like just a conversation on the internet. And sometimes it gets into name calling. That's what a blood sports debate is. Whereas I like to do the structured, moderated, time limits. And some people are better at one and worse at the other. Yeah.
And exposed to the world. But I can't make Matt do something. So I am sorry that we don't appear to have a headline debate tonight.
All right, Matt walked off. I got to end the stream. I got to get ready.
You want to ask Andrew questions, do you?
But this actually goes on for another half an hour. You can go to Modern Day Debate. Just search MDD, Modern Day Debate, Matt Dillahunty, Andrew Wilson. and you can watch the full thing, because then the audience gets in questions, and basically Andrew ends up debating the audience for like half an hour.
Reading the same passage and you come up with completely different answers to what that passage means, how do you know who's telling the truth? How do you know which one of you is right? It's the same exact criticism that I have. Luckily for us, we have church history. We have church history and apostolic succession. So we actually know what the Bible says right from the very beginning through apostolic succession. We don't have any disagreement because we yield to the authority of the church, who's in universal agreement.
Except based on interpretation. I mean, you've got different sects.
Based on interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the interpretation?
He just rebutted the based off the interpretation argument. He just said, if two people read the same passage and get different interpretations, Andrew's saying that the Orthodox Church believes that they have a downline of a genetic downline from the apostles. The original apostles and the original writers of the Bible, they have a connection through the church to the downline of that genetic lineage, and that they've been there from the beginning, going along, checking and double checking and triple checking everything. So now the church leaders can say without a shadow of a doubt, this is what the truth is. Now, I disagree with that. That would be a whole debate I could have with Andrew about how just because you say that that's true doesn't really mean that it's true. Like, you don't, like, what did you do, a 23andMe and found out that one of your bishops is connected to Paul? Or I don't know if Orthodox have bishops. I don't know enough about the Orthodox Church, but like, how do you really know? Maybe they just told you that they have that apostolic succession, and maybe their interpretation is no different than you or I's interpretation. But he already did rebuttal the question.
That you think that my church holds that you disagree with.
I don't know what specific beliefs.
Well, then why would you even open your mouth about it? It makes no sense.
I'm good. Thank you.
Another question from
Andrew is nervous. He's a little
Just a
flustered.
final question. So is it true that the topic today was, will secular humanism beat Christianity, or was it about transgender?
No. The topic today was secular humanism versus Christian ethics. Christians have an ethical duty to tell the truth. And the secular humanist, does not.
Right.
As I just demonstrated.
Andrew is really strong on this point, and it's a great point that as Christians, we're not supposed to lie. So if you're forcing me from your worldview to lie to the world and to lie to myself and to call things be not as it were, to call something that it's not, to call hating black people racism when it's really just dumb, hateful people, or to call a man a woman when it's obviously a woman, it hurts me to have to tell that lie. I shouldn't have to tell that lie, especially when we're men. We're Christian men. One of our main foundations should be honesty. I've been watching on YouTube. I don't know why it popped up on my feed, but it's like bad kids who go to like a strict family's house. Some old show. They did it in England and they did it in America. And it was like World's Strictest Parents or something. And they would take these troubled kids and bring them into a house where the parents were very strict and try to, like, which it's a stupid concept for it's a great entertainment. It's great entertainment, but it's a stupid concept for the show because it's like, you're going to take this boy that's being raised in a single mother household where the mom has no control over him and he's smoking pot and he's drinking and he's out at all hours of the night. You're going to put him in a Christian household with a mother and a father and 4 kids where they do farm work and stuff and teach him these lessons about life. But at the end of the week, he's going back home to his single mom. So it's like there's no change that's going to come out of this. Nothing's going to be learned from this. The kid's just going to, you could tell the kids are just like, oh, we got to do Bible study with the family tonight. This sucks. I want to go smoke some pot. And as soon as the kid gets home to their single mother household, it's not going to be the same environment. And it is a pretty cool show, but what was the point I was getting at? I was getting at a point. Oh. So if you're raised to not lie, so the kid smokes some pot, and then the guy brings the kid and sits him down. He basically caught the kid. Kid threw an apple into the lake that he smoked pot out of, and the dad said, "Why is there an apple floating in the middle of my lake?" And pulled the apple in and smelled it, and it had pot. And then the kid's like, he asked the kid, and the kid told the truth up until a point. He said, "I got an apple. I stabbed it with. I was gonna eat it, but then I decided I didn't want to eat it, so I stabbed it with a pin a couple times, and I threw it into the water." And the dad's like, "Why would you lie to me?" Like, he said, "If you're a liar, you're nothing." And that's true. But from that kid's secularist, anti-God, single mom household worldview, he thinks he's right. I don't even know where I was going with this, but there was a point. I don't know if I made the point, but
Live to everybody. They have absolutely no duty to tell anybody the truth about anything. None.
Well, I think everybody can see on screen what the debate topic is, and what he said was not the truth.
It says, no, that was not the debate topic even just an hour ago. Even just an hour ago, that was not the debate topic, so.
To be fair, that is a question, regarding to the debate, but we will carry on the questions there.
Given that this clearly wasn't the topic and you've been bodied on the issue before, including by Nominal Naomi a year ago, why not
that dude got wrecked
on a new topic?
that dude got wrecked.
Okay, so first of all,
Nominal Naomi is a transgender person that Andrew debated, and Nominal Naomi did not. Nominal Naomi did not win that debate.
I literally went through and said, these people have no justification for their beliefs at all. He could have gone after that. I went on to further explain, here's how I can demonstrate that they have no justification for any of their claims. Here's how I can demonstrate they don't have truth on their side. Because I can show an example in real time of these people.
I can't keep watching this. I gotta go. My cards are put up for auction. I covered what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to show that how Dinesh asked the same question to Matt 2 months prior to that. And Matt got flustered. And Andrew, I don't know if he saw that or not, but Andrew won the debate in the opening statement with the same thing. But thanks for watching, guys. Just a short little Dreaded Conservative stream. I'll see you guys later. God bless. We out. Peace.